church. Weren't they great? Fantastic. So did I. So hello, how are you doing? It's really good, isn't it? Yes? Well, yes, I'm Jackie Dagger and I actually work here at the OU. In fact, I work in the Institute of Educational Technology, or IET as they know. And we were just talking about it the other day amongst ourselves, and until we went to work there, nobody actually knew what they did. I work in the sort of courses department. And we're a right mixed bag over there. There's a lot of international members of staff. We have research students, and also there's a lot of northerners as well, so I felt right at home. And in fact, we have a lady in there called Nat, and she often organises loads of social events. We're so diverse. We have like a world picnic, and you know, people from Argentina, they'll bring their local dish, and you know, we had Italian members of staff. They brought the tiramisu. So obviously, throwing in that cosmopolitan, I thought I'd take Lancashire cheese and Chorley cakes, which went down really well. Obviously, for somebody from Zimbabwe or something, that seems quite cosmopolitan. And I work with a woman called Margaret, and she's a Mancunian. We get on really well. She's my line manager. And we just have such a good laugh. And we had similar upbringings, as in, you know, if you're ever ill when you were little, you couldn't be off school unless you were like nearly dying or anything like that. And so she broke a leg at work, and she was off one day. Can you imagine the expectation on me? You know, I ring up, it's very rare I ring up and I go, I'm not well, you know, I've got norovirus. Well, drag yourself in. What's up with you? You can obviously use the phone. I think you can be at work. I said, Margaret, break the cycle. You know, let it go. But she's funny. And we were going, one of our colleagues, one day, we were going to Woburn Abbey, to the sculpture gallery, to a wedding. And Margaret had to pass my house, so she picked me up. She got the short straw, and we're driving in the grounds, and we had to stop because 2 cars, and there were thousands of reindeer crossing over. You know, you could see all the antlers and their eyes in their headlights and things. I have to say, I've got a bit of a tendency to exaggerate. When I say thousands, I really mean hundreds. So bear with me. There were millions of reindeer going across. We were waiting for about 5 minutes. It seemed like half an hour, but I was just sat there. And then Margaret shouted, why don't they just pip or run them over? I went, you just said that out loud. She went, well, she don't care though. And when, an example of how hard she is, when we go and have a tea and coffee, she gets the tea bag out with her fingers and squeezes it out. How do you do that? And it's because we have such a laugh that it makes it a joy to come into work, you know. So, because she come back after one day, after breaking her leg, she did have a few problems. So she had to go to the Blackberry Clinic, which is like a private clinic, and they do physio and chiropractor and all that. So I said, how did you get on? What practitioner did you see? Osteopath, chiropractor? She went, well, one of them in a white coat. I went, what, like the cosmetic ladies wearing John Lewis? She said, yeah, that's right. I was none the wiser. But we do have a good laugh. And the other day we were sort of messing about. I said, oh, I've got a knit for a week. She said, oh, I'll come with you. I said, oh, good, synchronous weeing. Which really nearly wasn't synchronous because I'd made her laugh, you know. I shouldn't tell you that, don't tell her I've told you. And so that's where I work. And sorry, I easily get distracted. You're going to have to bear with me. You know, if all of a sudden I go, oh, twinkly lights, you know, bear with me while I'm, you know, get them. But what I wanted to share with you, I can see you're a warm crowd, and I want to share that I've got a bit of an impediment, really. And I didn't know I had an impediment until family told me. You know how they do, they're really warm on them. They go, you do that. You do what? I didn't know I did that, but now you're self-conscious about it. And mine is, you know when somebody comes up to you and they're really excited or they're animated, like, you'll never guess what. I'm like that. I mouth the words after them. Now I know I'm not on my own because I've seen other people that do it. Obviously I don't point it out. This is what I do. And another thing about the OU, if you don't work here, you probably all do. Do you all work at the OU? No, that's all right. There's very few people around in suits. There's usually only 4 reasons that people are in suits. Either they're going for an interview, which is what the story's leading into, or you work at the Faculty of Business and Law, you're conducting an interview, or you're a visitor. The rest of us are like this, a bit smart casual. And so I saw one of my colleagues and he was in a suit, he wasn't in his normal attire. I went, "Nick, you look really nice. Have you been for an interview?" He went, "Yeah, I've been to..." I had to apologise because I didn't know. I'd spoken to him before and I didn't know he had a speech impediment. So I thought, right, well, just wait, be patient, don't finish his sentence. And I just waited for him to finish and he said, "Yeah, I've been to..." And then he said, "Arts or science or whatever." And I said, "Oh, well, I hope you're really successful." And off he went. And I never thought anything of it. Till I was in bed that night. You know what you're like when you're in bed and you suddenly have that moment. And I thought, oh no. If while he was telling me, and obviously I didn't know, my impediment came out. What if he was like, yeah, I was going, and I was like, every time he was talking to me, I thought, I can't cope, because I can't cope, obviously I have. and it really bothered me for about a couple of hours. I didn't want him to think I'd take them in, because I wouldn't do that. And I didn't want to mention to him afterwards, because he might not have thought anything, or I might not have done it, and then it wouldn't have made a big deal. Welcome to my world. These are the sort of things I think about. In fact, I'll tell you what happened this morning. I don't work Fridays anymore, and I did have a dental appointment, but just before then my friend phoned, and I said, I can't stop on long because I've got a dental appointment. So in the end, it was like, no, I really must go right by. And it was only when I got to the dentist that I realised I was still in my slippers. Not the look I was going for really, but you know, that's how the day started. And you know all this wind and weather we've been having? Yesterday, I was looking out the bedroom window before I came to work, and you know it was really windy and everything, trees have blown down in various places. I was looking at the birds in the tree, and they were at the top and it was really swaying. Why don't they go lower down? Well, it's not so windy. Do you think about things like that? Because I do. And then I thought, if I'm a bird, I'd be thinking, whoa, it's a bit windy out there, it's a bit wild. I don't think I'd like that. And I thought, no, they're probably the opposite. They're probably like them turtles in Nemo. You know, whoa, dude, on the current. They were like, way! Anyway, that's what I was thinking about. And so, that was my impediment. Now, this thing, my impediment, I'm not the only one, and my friend Tree, who phoned me this morning, her husband Rob, he does it as well, a lot. And so I really empathise because I know what he's going through. And they were watching a film one night, and it was like fencing. So it was like, you know, the old proper, like this. So that was going on, and out of the corner of her eye, Tree noticed a motion. And she looked round, and Rob's going like that. She said, who are you bowing to? He said, what do you mean? She said you were bowing. He went, oh, shut up. And I think the older you get, the worse it is, because I'm a director's dream. I've noticed I smile at the telly a lot, and I've got so self-conscious about it, I catch myself going, as if they're in the room, you know, with me. And I'm like a director's dream because I'm right in there. I am completely immersed. You know, when they're going down the stairs and it's a real thriller, I'm like, why are you doing that? And I'm like backing off like this. It's as if I'm really there. And that's why my son won't come to the movies with me anymore. This is because when he was 18, I traumatised him. We went to see The Others. It was Sam, me and Tree. And as usual, we were late. That was probably Sam's fault. And so, because we were in the theatre late, we had to sit right at the front, you know, on the first 2 rows, so you like that, with a crick neck. Now, I know The Others, I found it a very tense ghost story, but I know to most of you, you'll be thinking, that's dead lame. It was a 12, I couldn't believe it was a 12. But anyway, I was gripped, as you can imagine, so it was really tense and they was really sucking you in. But mostly, there's just one really scary part. And when that bit came up, this woman, like, appears or jumps out of the cupboard, I can't remember. But I was so shocked, I went, ah! Jumped up in my seat, and then down, trying to hide, completely shocked. Sam, mortified, went, Mum, did you have to scream? I went, it's all right, love. Everybody else did, because that's what I heard in my head. And he went, no, they didn't. And that wasn't bad enough, because then I turned to Tree and she was killing herself laughing, not because I'd screamed, because the woman next door to her nearly choked on her popcorn because I'd frightened her. And so she was really laughing to the point of nearly wetting herself. And because I was shocked, I started laughing hysterically, but I had to really try and stop myself sobbing. So it was a bit of a nightmare. I laugh about it now, but it was quite traumatic at the time. But that wasn't the end of it. Because I was on the second row, everybody behind had seen me go like this and scream. So going out, they're going, yeah, that's her. So that was that. Well, I come from a little cotton-mill village in Lancashire. You might have guessed by the accent, but I have been longer away than in there. And it was quite rural and things, but because it was village, it had still quite a lot of shops and stuff. And I can still recall like the smells and the pictures, you know, they evoke all these memories. So we had like the ironmongers, which was a bit like Odell's. Now that's all ironmongery stuff. But your coal and your paraffin, because no central heating then, you had little paraffin heaters. Does anybody remember? Because they'd take the chill off, you know, in the bathroom or something like that. Now opposite there was the post office, which had a nice polished wooden floor and things, but it come shop. And so they sold cheese and bacon and things. And then they had this great big old bacon slicer. And this is in the days before used by or best before. This was a bit how it went. Oh, I think it's got another couple of days in that, Sheila. Anyway, so that was that in the post office. Next to that, like an haberdashery. And then the butchers, and then round the corner near the wreck, pie shop. Now I know you think I've ate all the pies, but I didn't. I was quite skinny then. And this is obviously when the cotton mill, the men had come out, they'd like something that would really fill them up but was cheap. So besides cakes and sausage rolls, they'd do like cheese and onion, meat and tater, and butter pie. Anybody not know what a butter pie is? Thanks. A butter pie. I'm glad you asked, Jason. It's like sliced potato and onion, and then butter, all in short crust pastry. So that was that, and they were really good. In fact, when we used to go home, the kids would say, "Get a tray of pies, Mum, and we'll freeze them," because they were so good. So you can imagine when I came down here, I was a bit disappointed, to be honest. Half the size, twice the price. So I went to the local shop. I said, "Can I have meat?" I probably said meat and potato, because he wouldn't know what meat and potato is. And he came out with this small rectangular thing. And when I lifted the lid, there was like gravy, a couple of bits of meat, and some cubes cubes of potato, just very lonely, all on their own. I wasn't happy. And there were 3 pubs as well, obviously. There's loads of pubs as well as everything else. No. I'm the eldest of 3. Put your hand up if you're the eldest in the family. Yeah. Aren't we the ones that always organise everything? You know, we'll say, shall we throw Mum a party? Yeah, you do catering, I'll sort invites, all the rest of it. Yeah, I know, I'm right. So like tonight, you know, are you going tonight? We'll get the tickets, they're the ones that organise it. Well, I think it skipped with my son, he's the eldest. He's got other skills. But it fell to his sister, she's very organised. You know, almost regimental. And at one point she was between flats, so she had to live with her brother, and he loved it, because she'd be like, bang, 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 do all her chores and stuff. And then she'd say, you need to do that and wash up and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, great, yeah, somebody to organise me. I'm not painting a good picture of him, but like I say, he's got other skills. And so she's very organised and things, and that's the thing with the eldest in the family. My mum was an auxiliary nurse and my dad was a long-distance lorry driver, and he had satisfied customers coast to coast, but I later found out he was dropping off more than what was on his delivery note. I've since found out that I've got a brother in Barry and a sister in Selby. But I say, embrace the extended family. That's the way to go. Well, you heard me say my mum was an auxiliary nurse, and I know what you're thinking, caring profession, but I don't think so, to be honest. I think these women, and there were mainly women at the time, were trained by the SAS. And I'll tell you why. Because of hospital corners. This is the way that these women used to fold cotton at the bottom. They'd like lift it up and tuck it under, it wasn't going anywhere. It was like welded cotton. And it was like a straight jacket for kids as well. And all across the country, little children were traumatised. When Mum came to kiss them goodnight, they thought it was the last one. It was a bit like, you know, when you see army beds and you just bang that coin off, that's what it was like. And none of you duvet or duvets, as my nanny used to call it. In fact, when they first came out, they were called continental quilts, weren't they? In the 70s, and we didn't have one. We had coats on the bed when we were younger. But you could tell they'd say, do you know Doreen down the road? She's got one of them continental quilts. She never has. She has. My mum would say, well, I wouldn't have one if you give me one. Which was probably the response when you couldn't afford it, so you're going to put it down. But at my nana's house, they did have eider-downs, which I suppose were like a continental quilt, weren't they? They were like feather-filled and stuff like that. And I mentioned my nana and why she called it duvet. She was so funny, my nana. She didn't realise she was, but she was. She was once in hospital and I went to see her and she went, oh, hello, Jacqueline, love, you're looking very bonny. Are they your auntie? I said, hey, Nana, yeah, they are. So we were on, my mum and my nan were on a holiday in the lakes at my auntie's caravan, and me and my husband sort of hijacked the holiday and joined them. And it was really good, and we were having a good laugh in the living room and stuff like that. And we'd be laughing really loudly and getting hysterical and things. And my nana was a bit highly strung, so she'd say, "Ee, keep it down, what will neighbours think?" I said, "They'll think we're having a good time." Anyway, like nanas do, she potted off to bed about 9:30 with a cocoa, and we were up, we stayed up, you know, having a drink and a laugh and things. And then when we went to bed, my mum was sleeping with my nana, and we were in the twin rooms, me and my husband. I say twin rooms, you know what it's like in caravans. They're more like a bench, aren't they? And my husband was about 6 foot odd, so his legs were hanging over the end. Anyway, we got in bed. You know how thin the walls were? All of a sudden we heard, "Glory be, Sheila, you're going to take all that duvet?" My husband fell out of bed laughing. She was such a character. So, back to the hospital corners. So, I'm going to do a demo now, and I don't do many, so watch up. So the bed is really tight like an envelope, and you had to make like a piece of paper to get in there. And this was another tactic, I think, coming from the SAS, because it took you time to get in there, so it tired you out, and then once you were there, you're not moving anywhere. None of this, can I have a drink every 10 minutes? Hospital corners, that's what you need. So you had to go down like this, get down, 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 down like this, into the bed, which came in handy a bit later on, because me and my sister won first and second in the limbo competition at Pontins at Southport. And it's a trophy I still treasure today. I keep it under the coffee table. Glad you like that one. Well, I don't know if it was the hospital corners or other things, but I discovered a bit later on that I had OCD. I say discovered, I'm not a doctor. But and they didn't know about those things then. There's no such thing as OCD or stress. It was either the funny things you did or you were mad as a box of frogs. And what I used to do, I used to fluff up all the cushions on the settee. I'd check all the drawers on the sideboard, and then I'd fluff up the dog if he came in. He quite liked the attention, to be honest. And then my mum would say, "What did you do that for?" I said, "Do what?" And she told me what I'd done. I had no recollection. They thought it was quite funny at the time. But I don't want you to worry about me, because I have had a lot of therapy and counselling, and I'm fine now. So I don't want you to worry about me, I'm okay. And the other thing is, for any of you parents out there or grandparents who have children who are showing these behaviours, isn't it great to have the cleanest and tidiest house on the street? Well, my name's been Jackie. You've been amazing. Thanks very much.
I want more for that. A bigger round of applause now. It's a very brave thing to do, to come up and stand up here and try and be funny. My God, I couldn't do it. Well done, Jackie. Thank you very much. Right, we're going to take a half-time break here. The time's now 8:10, and we'll probably come in about 25 to 9. There's music going on in the